we're so quiet.
Yeah, it's very quiet here.
That's
Yeah, I
about
think that. I'm just trying to right now find out.
This is it.
You don't have a quorum of the membership, but you.
Unless Commissioner Kaufman shows up.
I doubt that he's showing up.
Me neither.
Did you all reach out?
I was doing the positive thing.
Oh,
He's zooming. He's on Zoom.
he's on Zoom.
And so you know the mics are on.
Are we expecting
Turn it off.
Sam?
No, we are not. He's on Zoom.
He would be.
He would be the physical quorum, correct?
Greg Ross is not.
And without a physical quorum, we can't pass anything.
You can, but you have to go down to becoming the executive committee,
Okay,
which can take action on behalf of the rules.
okay,
So it will do the same business publicly.
okay,
The decisions of today will be ratified, otherwise they are done.
okay. Thank you.
The public has a right to have public business done.
Mhm.
We need 4 and a third.
So you
We
can
have 13 members currently. 13? Yeah. Because this is 15, but that includes both Bailey and Ross. These are
Yes.
our current members. Is there anybody we can kick off right now?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I'm going to make if I may, with your permission, a command decision.
Yes,
If our executive director concludes that we have 13 active members,
right.
19 legally authorized,
If you round to the nearest number.
it's 4.
It's 4.
It's 4. And if you don't conduct public business on 4, I think that you would be doing a disservice to the public who logs into that.
I'm gonna ask you.
I
I'm
will.
gonna call the meeting. Are we expecting anybody else? If not, I'm gonna call the meeting in order of the South Florida Regional Prosperity Institute. So are we expecting anybody else? But, okay, in that case, please start the Zoom.
Started.
And this be.
Are we recording?
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of South Florida Regional Prosperity Institute order. I will ask Kathy to take roll and make a comment on the roll.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Kaplan?
Virtually here.
Kate's? Corradino?
Your mic.
Fur? Garcia? Gilbert? Goldberg?
I'm here.
Orland? Kaufman?
Here.
Lincoln?
Present.
McGee? Udine?
Here.
Davila?
Here,
I'm s-
Norm
I'm s- I'm sitting in for Serena Davila today. My name's Megan Rudder.
and Norma
Thank you.
Blandy.
Thank you. Lynn?
Here.
Peters?
This
Walia?
this is Kent Walia, FDOT District 4. Sitting in on behalf of Victoria Peters.
Villaboy?
Here.
Geller?
Here. By my count, we have a quorum more than half of the total membership present live and on Zoom. I'm going to ask for a legal opinion from our attorney, Mr. Gorin. Mr. Gorin, we have 13 active members currently of the South Florida Regional Planning Council.
Correct.
I know that we require a third live present. We have 4 members live present by my very not good math. That is not a third if you count the fractional member, but if you round to the nearest whole number, 4 is divided by 13, rounding to the nearest whole number, quorum would be 4. In your opinion, sir, what should we do?
The short answer, Mr. Chair.
Can you talk to a mic, please?
I can. The answer for the record is that the senator chair is legally accurate As you know, this organization is governed by a state law that was modified in 2020. It didn't happen by accident. That law was changed because of the efforts of our executive director, and at the time, Steve Geller and others, to basically try to reformat the method by which you all could meet. I'm giving you this explanation for a reason. The statute was proposed many years over time. It was passed in 2020. It basically now says that 1/3 of the membership must be physically present to allow you to have using virtual a gallery for the purposes of communicating and having a meeting, which means that 1/3 must be physically in the room. The balance can be on a virtual platform, which in the case of this situation would be today. We have 19 members allowed by law under the statute that governs this organization, Chapter 86. That being said, we only have 13 active legal members. The consequence of which is that a quorum for today's purposes, and I think given the nature of the location, the interests of moving forward items in connection with the agenda, that 4 members would legally qualify as a quorum to do physical active business and legal business of the council this morning. Thank you.
And that would apply to both the South Florida Regional Prosperity Institute and the South Florida Regional Planning
Yes,
Council.
and the Prosperity Institute, as you know, is owned by this organization. It is a corporation in which the membership of the SFRPC board is the face of the organization. There's a Prosperity Institute, which was formed many years ago to receive grants and otherwise to provide a mechanism to do certain things that the council could not do, all of which are legal, by the way, but just different. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Based upon the advice of counsel, it is the ruling of the chair that we do have quorum. Does anyone present or attending on live have any concern or challenge? If not, the ruling of the chair stands. We do have a quorum, and let's take up the South Florida Regional Prosperity Institute, which I've never quite figured out what we do. So is there a motion to approve the SFRPI agenda? Moved by Councilmember Horland, seconded by Councilmember Lincoln.
Pledge of allegiance.
I'm sorry, pledge, I will do as soon as we finish adopting this. You are correct. Is there any objection to adopting the agenda? If not, show that done without objection. And reminder to we've established at a prior meeting, we don't really need approval of our agendas. So when we rewrite our bylaws, we're going to eliminate those. I'd like to thank Chair-elect Lincoln for reminding me that we skipped the pledge.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. I will turn this over to the executive director for the action items. Well, actually, I see the only action items. I'll do this are minutes of the prior meeting. We only meet once a year. The minutes have been distributed. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing no additions or corrections, are there any objection? Are there any objection? If not, show the minutes adopted without objection. Financial report. I think who does the financial report? Is that Leo?
Hello?
Nope. Try turning it on.
Hello?
No.
Hello? Yep. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. So, on page 1 of the financial report for the Prosperity Institute, you'll see that our total assets for the fiscal year end were $53,877.39. That matches with total liabilities and fund balance. We turn to page 2, where we'll see that the Prosperity Institute got $11,930.66 worth of revenues, and the total expenses for $1,808.99, totaling in excess and revenues for $10,121.67.
And my understanding is all that the Prosperity Institute does is it serves as basically a foundation so that people who want to contribute to the SFRPC for tax deductible purposes can do that. Is that
As of
correct?
right now, that's correct.
Thank you. All right.
And Mr. Chair, if you will, for the record, it also is an organization under federal law in which the entity can also apply for grants that might not otherwise be available for the actual council membership.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Gorin. We've heard the financial report. Are there any questions on the financial report? Are there any questions? If not, are there any objections? Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, please show the financial report adopted. Public hearing. Does anybody wish to make any comments? Public hearing is now open. Are there any comments from any person physically present? Seeing none, are there any comments from any person online? Seeing no public comments, the public hearing is now closed. Program reports and activities. Is that Isabel or?
Yeah, if I could. Thank you and good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here in person and online. So the Southeast Florida Regional Prosperity Institute is a 501c3 of the council. It used to be called the Institute for Community Collaboration, and we would use this 501c3 to do a bunch of myriad activities in the community to assist. So when it was renamed the Southeast Florida Regional Prosperity Institute, it was really designed to be a complementary organization to the council, and that we would be able to move forward community initiatives through the institute regionally in situations where we might not be able to do it through the council. Really, it really is a funding mechanism, as has been previously mentioned. And I'm happy to say that this upcoming year, we're going to be working to move that organization forward more aggressively with some new programming and staff assistance. So we're very excited about that. To date, this is one of the vehicles, for example, when we had our regional meetings, this was the mechanism by which we were able to accept the contributions from our partners to help underwrite those events. But again, more to come, and I look forward to giving you a future update.
Any questions? Are there any questions of the executive director? Are there any questions of the executive director? Seeing no questions. And is there any public comment on the questions on the executive director? If not, we have completed the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn the Regional Prosperity Institute? Moved by Councilmember Lincoln, seconded by Councilmember Horan. Is there any objection? Any objection? If not, show the meeting adjourned. We will now, as soon as I read the note that's being given to me. Okay.
Holly.
I would now like to call the meeting of the South Florida Regional Planning Council to order. Will you please take attendance for the Regional Planning Council? Kathy. Michelle, do we do it? We need to do another pledge.
Kaplan.
Here.
Cates. Corradino. Burr. Garcia. Gilbert. Goldberg.
Here.
Orland. Kaufman.
Here.
Lincoln. Here. McGee. Udine.
Here.
Davila. Rudder.
Here.
Wynn.
Here.
Peters, Walia. Villaboy.
Here, sorry.
Here.
Thank you. And Geller.
Here. Will you please stand for the pledge led by Councilmember Cates?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. I'd like to thank the staff and Councilmember Horwin for traveling down here to Monroe County. We now know what Councilmember Cates, Councilmember Lincoln go through on a regular basis, except in reverse. And this makes us appreciate even more the constant attendance from Councilmember Cates, Councilmember Lincoln, and other people from Monroe County. I don't want to leave out, I I know I'm leaving somebody out from Monroe who attends. Yes, Councilmember Kaufman. And I'd like to thank the three of you for attending, on a regular basis up in Broward County. And at this point in time, I would like to ask for additional remarks. I'm going to call in this order. I will call first on Mayor Jim Scholl, who will be on the line, followed by I'll introduce Commissioner Ray Shine, and then a council member and chair-elect Lincoln for remarks. So Mayor Scholl, again, I'd like to thank Monroe County for hosting us. And Mayor Scholl, did you have any remarks you wish to make?
No, just sorry I couldn't be up there today, but I've got a host of things to do down here. But I'm glad there was a quorum, and look forward to you guys approving the things that are on the agenda and moving forward with keeping all of South Florida moving in the right direction with the challenges we have. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ray Shine and I share a background which an increasing number of the members of Florida Association County have, which is being former legislators who have moved on to the county commission. Prior to term limits, it was more of a one-way street. You'd go from county commission to legislature, but with term limits now, you see it going both ways. Councilmember Ray Shine was an able, excellent member of the legislature. And from all, I don't follow her as closely now that she's a county commissioner in Monroe, but from everything I've heard, has done an outstanding job, both in the legislature and now as a commissioner. Again, Commissioner Ray Shine, thank you for being here. Do you have any remarks you'd like to make?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome to beautiful Key Largo. Wish that you all could have come down a little earlier. We had a beautiful weekend after Saturday. It started warming up and it was just glorious. And it's so wonderful to see my colleagues here, Commissioner Cates and Mayor Pro Tem Lincoln. We just saw Mayor Scholl on the line, and I know Commissioner Kaufman's down in Key West online as well. And Mr. Chair, I just wanted to thank you. I've watched you in service since my early 20s, and your steadfastness and your support for your community and your county has never wavered. And you bring up that voice of institutional knowledge and never miss a moment, a teachable moment for new colleagues. And so it's very awesome to see you at the helm. But just a couple things, and I know you've got Rhonda Haig here, and we've got Emily Skemper back there, our planning director. You're going to be hearing from Dr. Hannah Koch about our cool artificial reef program. And these are just a couple topics that are important. We're right next door to us, like quarter mile, not even, is our model resiliency project that we kicked off this summer. And it is full bore. And I see action every day that I drive by. And I'm so excited that we were able to get that across the finish line and are now turning our attention to our next project. And I know that Rhonda's going to talk more about that. We are aligned in that workforce housing. It's almost numero uno. I feel like traffic, transportation, and workforce housing we juggle those in terms of importance, but those are things that we're really, really looking closely at here. The future of development, how do we protect property rights, make sure that our workforce has safe, clean, strong, resilient housing, and protecting our way of life. That's something that you've heard a lot about, I'm sure, and will continue to hear a lot about. And then, as we all know, the legislature is getting ready to kick into action. And I know that the South Florida, right, the South Florida Regional Planning Council.
Previously.
I know. But we're already seeing some changes, some interactions that haven't been typical in recent years past. And I'm excited for that conversation. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the next 2 days. Are they going to do anything? We'll see. And I think that's good. That's good in a governing body and a legislative body when you can have those maybe discussions and disagreements, and then obviously keeping the needs of our entire state while taking care of your own district, your own community is important. So something that I'm personally passionate about and am pushing in the legislative arena is upping the income threshold for the school readiness programs. They tinkered with it a little bit at the state level last year, but unfortunately it doesn't filter down here to Monroe County because our income levels are so high. And so you can have two parents making practically minimum wage and they still do not qualify. So they're having to choose between going to work or caring for their children. And unfortunately, these children, it's the 1-year-old to 4-year-olds that are missing out on those critical years of learning their ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, colors and things like that. And their parents are missing out on the income and moving forward and living the American dream. So I've asked our legislative delegation and Senator Rodriguez and Representative Mooney to sponsor legislation. We've got statewide language. And then of course, I'm super biased. I'm sorry. I care about the Keys and I care about everybody, but particularly Monroe County, and really focusing on upping that state median income to 75%. And I think that will capture a lot of parents. Yes, does it have a fiscal impact? Speaker Perez has talked about reining in member projects, which I know is tough, but this isn't a member project. This affects hundreds of parents, hundreds of families. And I'm really hoping to, it's fun to kind of flex my legislative muscles a little bit. Again, I haven't done that in a while. And to work, Senator Geller, like if you don't work your bill, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
And so I'm gearing up for that. I have the support of all of my colleagues. So I'm grateful, Commissioner Cates and Mayor Pro Tem Lincoln and Scholl and Rice. And I'm just really excited about that because I was just at a restaurant in Islamorada this week, and there's a particular server that's a single mom, and she's kind of my example. And there's hundreds, again, like I said. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the work that the Planning Council does. I'm excited about the presentations you're about to hear, because so much of what we do as a region, I know we're different, the Keys and unique in our challenges, but there are so many things that do unite us. We are a force. And I'm really, really looking forward to 2025 because I think there's going to be a lot of work that is going to get done.
Thank you for your remarks, Commissioner Rashine. I will say I'm also looking forward to working with both Senator Albritton and President Albritton and Speaker Perez. I'm old enough. I've either been in the legislature, House, Senate, Commission, Mayor, in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020. So I'm old enough to remember when the legislature and and local governments worked together, remembering that we represented the same constituents. The legislature seems to have forgotten that over the past decade or two, but candidly, I have very high hopes for both President Albritton and Speaker Perez. I think they're both the right people at the right time for their positions. And we'll see what happens, but I'm going
Your mouth
in
to
very
God's
hopeful.
ears. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
And the topics that you discussed have all been brought up before. You mentioned affordable housing. We set up the mayor's conference where we had the mayors of Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County working on affordable housing. We dealt with transit. Let me advise you and any of the other members that the SEDS, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Committee, which the South Florida Regional Planning Council is the economic development agency of the Economic Development Administration for the U.S. Department of Commerce. Did I get that right?
Correct.
Okay, for Southeast Florida. And so we have the SEDS committee, and currently what we're working on is transit-oriented development. We've done an amazing amount of work on this, and we're still have a lot more to do. So if you want to get involved in that, please contact us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was remiss in not thanking Isabel for the invite and for looping me in.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Our pleasure.
Again, thank you for being here, ma'am. And let me now ask our council member Lincoln, who is the chair-elect, if she has any comments.
Well, thank you. And I do have just one brief comment. I appreciate the people who drove here to be with us for this meeting in person. You're right. You now get to see what Commissioner Cates and I do on a monthly basis, because this does mean so much to Monroe County to have the collaboration with Broward County and Miami-Dade County. So my goal is next year when we do this meeting, that we go a little further into the Keys, that we have it in Marathon, and that you all can all visit our brand new state-of-the-art Emergency Operations Center, which would be a beautiful place to host the meeting and to show off our shiny new Emergency Operations Center. So just setting the seed, planting that seed now for all of my friends and colleagues that are on Zoom. I would like more of you all here next year when we do this in Marathon. And without further ado, let's get this meeting rolling.
Thank you. And Councilmember Lincoln, you can hold the meeting wherever you want next year. You're going to be chair. So let me ready. Yeah. Okay. At this point in time, even though we said approximate time 11 o'clock, we've been flying through things. So we will begin our special guests and presentation. Yeah, we'll go in the order. It's so Roman numeral 3. First, I'm sorry.
I don't know if Hannah's online, because we had talked about 11 o'clock being the time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought she was here. Was she not introduced?
Rhonda's here.
Okay.
But again, Hannah may be joining us a little bit later.
Okay. Well, in that case, why don't we just skip quickly and just, this will take 5 minutes to do the action items, the public hearings. All right. First, I will ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting. They have been distributed. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, are there any objections to the minutes? Are there any objections to the minutes? If not, show the minutes adopted without objection. Leo, financial report.
Hello? You hear me? I'm here again.
No.
So,
Is his mic on?
now I think it's on.
I don't hear you.
Try. I don't think your mic is on.
Hello?
Yeah, okay. Is his mic on? We're not sure, but go ahead. We'll try.
So financials, if we go to page 1 of the financial statements for the South Florida Regional Planning Council, we'll see for the general fund that total assets as of December 31st, 2024 ended up in $140,775, as well as liabilities and fund balance. We move on to the federal, state, and local fund assets ended at $24,550, as well as liabilities and fund balance. The revolving loan funds increased in $6,953, as well as liabilities and fund balance. And the South Florida Regional Prosperity Institute remained unmodified by the end of December 31st.
Thank you. Let me check with my resident expert, Commissioner Udine. Do you have any questions?
It looks good to me. I'll make a motion to approve the financial reports.
Okay, motion to approve. Yeah, I'm sorry.
We haven't seen page 2, but I mean, that's the revenue and expense report.
Okay, why don't you run through page 2 then?
So if we move on to page 2, we'll see that total revenues are at 57% of the budget for the fiscal year, and expenses are at 25%, completely aligned with the percentage of the fiscal year lapsed. So we're on track with the budget for the fiscal year.
Thank you. Commissioner Udine has moved the adoption. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Horland. Are there any questions? Are there any questions on the financials? Are there any objections? Are there any objections to the financials? If not, show the financials adopted without objection. And we will now move into the comprehensive plan amendment reviews. First, I will ask for the board attorney or the council attorney to read them, and then we'll go into public hearing. Please read the proposed.
Thank you, Senator Chair Geller. For the record, the proposed items for public hearing and review this morning by the council are as follows. Miami-Dade County number 24-04 ESR, the town of Golden Beach 24-01 ER, and the references agency comments received after publication of the council's agenda, but not regional in nature. If there are any comments, the council may still make them as a matter of record. Next up is the City of Hialeah number 24-01 ESR, the Village of Islamorada, City of Islands, 24-04 ACSC. And last but not least, under the proposed land use amendments is the, again, Islamorada, 24-05 ACSC, the backup of which is in the agenda books and also online. And you're also live to take public comments during the public hearing process, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And is Christina online?
Yes, she is.
Okay, Christina, my understanding is you had a comment on the town of Golden Beach one. Is that correct?
No.
Isabel, do you have a comment on
Yes,
it?
my understanding is, and I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but my understanding is that we did receive some comments from agencies regarding the town of Golden Beach. Kathy, you might provide additional details since you read it. I believe it had to do with planning. Is it in my package? Oh, perfect. Well, see, that's why Kathy cannot be replaced. Okay, here we go. From Florida Commerce, it was just, the Florida Commerce identified 2 objections and provided some recommendations. They're not regional in nature, so we would just by reference incorporate into our recommendation on Golden Beach as consistent, but to please address the comments by Florida Commerce. And is that the only one, Kathy? And that's it.
Is there any objection to amending our report to include the comments from the Florida Department of Commerce? Is there any objection? Any objection? If not, show the amendment adopted without objection. Are there any, is the public hearing is now open on the proposed comp plan amendments? Is there anybody present in person that wishes to comment? Is there anybody present in person that wishes to comment? If not, is there any person online that wishes to comment? Is there any person online that wishes to comment? Seeing none, show the public hearing closed. Is there a motion to approve the proposed amendments? No, we're adopting these first, then we'll adopt the others. Right. No, he hasn't read the adopted ones yet. Is there, that's why I said the motion is to approve the proposed comp plan amendment reviews. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lincoln, seconded by Councilmember Horland. Is there any discussion? Is there any debate? Is there any objection? Is there any objection? If not, show the proposed comp plan amendment reviews adopted without objection. Ms. Gorin, please read the adopted comp
Thank you,
plan amendment
Senator
reviews.
Chair Geller. For the record, the adopted land use amendments are as follows. Again, the same rules apply to any member of the public who came out to speak for or against. Can be heard either in person here in the room or online as well. The Miami-Dade County number 24-03 ESR. Next up is the Monroe County 24-03 ACSC. Islamorada, the City of Islands, references 24-01 ASC. Next up is the Islamorada, City of Islands, 24-03 ACSC. And at the end, City of Miami Springs, 24-01 ER, all of which are in the agenda books, online and available, and public hearing applicable to each. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions of any of the committee members? If not, public hearing is now open. Is there anybody present in person that wishes to comment on any of the adopted comprehensive plan amendment reviews? Is there anybody present in person, not person in present, present in person that wishes to comment? If not, is there anybody present online that wishes to comment on any of the adopted comprehensive plan amendment reviews? Is there anybody present online that wishes to comment? Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Are there any questions from any of the committee members? Are there any objections? Are there any objections? If not, show the public hearing show the comprehensive plan amendment reviews adopted without objection. We will now revert to our speakers. I would like to first introduce somebody that the position of Chief Resilience Officer is always an important position in any county. In Monroe County, it is particularly important because unfortunately, y'all could be underwater easily without resilience measures. Ms. Rhonda Haig is the Chief Resilience Officer. She's been with the county for 14 years, leads Monroe County's resiliency and sustainability efforts to help prepare the county and its coastal communities for the effects of sea level rise in what is one of the most vulnerable regions in the entire country. To assist in these efforts, Ms. Haig has helped develop $5 billion in resilience projects for the county and is actively working with the municipalities to do the same. She serves as an active member of the Southeast Florida Regional Climate Change Compact Steering Committee. There are 2 additional paragraphs on Ms. Haig background, and I would encourage everybody to read them as I have at this point in time. In the interest of time, I'm skipping them. However, I'd like to thank you for being here today. Ms. Haig, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to jump right into it since we limited time here. So we're going to talk a little bit today about our regional resilience program in the Keys, focusing on the roads elevation program. Okay, so nothing works here. Give me a second. All right. So, quite sure what's not working. Working now? Okay, here we go. Okay, so real fast, I'm not gonna, these are just photos. You can see the flooding in the Keys we've been experiencing for quite a few years. The biggest turn year was 2016 when we really started to see that widespread flooding throughout the Keys. And you can see here, Big Pine Key, still, Key Largo, all over. And every year it gets a little, spreads a little farther and gets a little deeper. And on the bottom, you can see here what it could look like if we don't do any road elevation programs. On the bottom left is 2035. You see this is up in Key Largo here. You see there's about 2 feet of potential water on the road, and you jump to the far right, 2060, you now see the water going into the, even elevated houses aren't going to be safe because it's going to go into the bottom floors. So a road elevation program, I'm not going to get into all these. These just show you all the little dots where we have potential road elevation projects throughout the Keys. When we did our roadway vulnerability study, we looked at 300 miles of county roads, and 150 of them were going to be vulnerable in the next 25 years. That's 150 miles of road elevation projects. And we do have a website, keysroadsplan.com. And now we've added the municipal road elevation projects in here. We're also doing the municipal road elevation projects. So as I said, we have a plan. We launched it 3 years ago. It's really expensive. Here it shows what the recommended road adaptation projects for the next 25 years. We're already beyond 2025 here. We got 49 neighborhoods for $888 million. That was in 2020 dollars. That's probably easily double now. Another 5 years after that, another 10 areas for $179 million. 5 years later, another $159 million. And then beyond that, up to the year 2045, $378 million. For a total of $1.6 billion. But as I said, that's in 2020 dollars. You can probably double that now. So we're looking at really billions of dollars worth of road elevation projects here in the Keys. And we also doing the Monroe. Whoops, hang on just a second here.
I thought it would be a lot more than that.
The road elevation program?
Yes, I thought the cost would be a lot more than $1 billion.
$3 billion, that's just for the 150 miles of county roads. Municipal roads, we're probably looking at almost that exact same amount here. So my thing here is this jumping all over the place here. So the municipal roads, we're looking at 156 miles. We just started that program now. You can see the different 4 municipalities here. And so a year from now, probably somebody from maybe the municipalities or me will be here in front of you to let you know how much the municipality road elevation project is going to be. All right. And so now we have a whole bunch of projects underway. We have 7 of them, and here they are. We have the Key Deer Boulevard. That's 3.3 miles. We have Stillwright Point. These are the design phases. 1.7 for, so you can see, 1.7 miles for $49 million. That's a lot of money. So we're looking at big output for small areas, project areas. Winston Waterway is another area here in Key Largo, 2.5 miles for 49 million. Count Key is a little bit further down the road, 0.5 mile for 12 million. Big Coppets in the lower Keys, 4.5 miles for 83 million. Flagler Avenue, even though it's in Key West, is a county maintained road. 2 miles at 72 million. And those are just design estimates. Who knows what they're going to be when we actually bid them out? As we've learned our lessons here in Key Largo, it gets really expensive when we get actual bids in. And then for construction phase, Twin Lakes, we're actually under construction. I'm going to show you some photos of that. 46, it's not quite a mile at 23 million bucks and 1.4 million for the construction and engineering and inspection. And then Sands, we also got ready to go out, and that is at 25 million. So we started out with Sands. It started out at 7 million. We bid it out. It came in at 21 million. So there you go. It's awful the way costs have really increased down here everywhere, but that shows you what it is. So Twin Lakes, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So just one of our worst areas that experienced frequent persistent flooding for quite a few years now. The flooded roadways, they block community access. So when they're flooded, you know, they don't get mail delivery, they don't get UPS, they don't get routine police patrol. So there's a lot of negative community things that go on when these roads are under flooding. And without functional roadways and stormwater systems, you know, the Twin Lakes community, it's not going to remain viable. It's going to be part-time. A lot of communities in the Keys will be part-time if we don't do the road elevation. So hooray, we had our groundbreaking in August of 2024. You see the commissioners here. We had beautiful. It took us a while to get there. It was a little bit later than we thought because we had to line up the money. And this is what it looks like. We're going to do 4,600 linear feet of roadway elevations. We're elevating it, the low sections, to about 13 NAVD. So it's not one of our higher. So 13 inches. And, you know, we have other recommended projects up to 2.5 feet. We're installing a concrete gravity wall adjacent to the wetlands. And you can see that on the left there. So you got to hold back the wetlands. We're also installing, of course, stormwater collection system, treatment system. You got to capture the water that falls on the road, treat it and dispose of it. So that's what the injection wells will do, 5 of them, and it will protect 105 homes for $23 million. Under construction, so we did give it, no, it's July 15th. Completion is May of 2026. We're 20% done already. That what you're looking at there is a concrete gravity wall that we're installing. That's next to the Florida Bay area to, like I said, to help hold back the tidal waters. Here's some more pictures here. So we had a federal appropriation of 5.4 million, a Resilient Florida grant, 3.9. County had to stick in a whole lot of funds, 9.6, and Aqueduct is contributing also because they're doing the water line for a total of $23 million. And so there's this is our new projects. We haven't done these before. There's a lot of community impacts. I went out there the other day. I had to go through this thing. You got to wait till, it's only one-way traffic. So you got to wait till the traffic thing tells you can get out there. So you have maintenance of traffic, small in relation to some of these other ways, driveway harmonization. So when you're elevating a road, now you got to, harmonize the driveways, and they're going to mostly need, some type of tie-in to the road. You have noise control. It's noisy, dusty, dirty out there when they're doing it, but I'm sure the people out there probably are just so happy to get the road elevation project. You have property impacts. You have delays. We have a few delays already from tidal flooding and weather. Utilities is a big one. Sewer, water, and electric all need to be relocated. So when you're elevating a road, you're now closer, to the wire. So everything has to be relocated, and that's what makes it so expensive. Not just the road elevation, you have all these utilities. And then you have easements. So when you're making roads higher, you also have to make them wider, and then that impacts, the right of way, and easements are going to be needed. So all of these, we're working as we go. We haven't, we're working through the easements, and those are some of the type of things we're going to be meeting with the communities, residents on all of these projects, including Twin Lakes. Here's some photos here. The ones on the bottom left and the right are roadway grading. So that's a lot going on right now. And then some of the other ones are, we're building the pump station. And that one in the middle there is the footprint there. And some of the other ones are just showing the general work. So we're really excited that the HAPIT's going, and it's 20% done already. Woohoo! And so, like I said, when you're doing these projects, so we've been working with Twin Lakes for a long time. They've been approaching us for several years. And like I said, we're finally to this point, but that doesn't mean we stop outreach now. They have monthly meetings. They identify all our stakeholders. So it's really important when you start these resilient projects, no matter what kind, whether it's a road elevation or anything else, you got to really reach out to the community ahead of time because they're new and they haven't been done before. So people need to understand what the effect is going to be to them and their community and to, to them. So us county, we kind of know what our effects are, money and everything else, but you also have to work with the community and listen to what they have to say. And some of the challenges are the state stormwater regulations. Everything has to be permitted. We can't just slap Harvey, blacktop on a road and not do permits. We also have to permit everything. Like I said, right-of-way constraints, easements for drainage, a lot of neighborhood, easements are going to be needed. Harmonization of the driveways, your groundwater table rising, so you can't just dig trenches to get rid of the water because as the groundwater rises, there's going to be nowhere for the water to go. That's why I think all of our road elevation projects are going to be using injection wells and putting the water underneath after it's treated, of course. Pump station sites, a lot of these neighborhoods don't have vacant lots, so you have to figure out where you're going to put the pump station. And then public outreach and construction costs. So I'm not going to get into this a lot, but the costs have really risen a lot. You've already heard me say it went from 7 to 21 million on the Twin Lakes, and some of these reasons are right here. Sediment barriers increased 45%. Look at embankment, 159% increase in just 4 years. So they don't seem to be coming down. I don't anticipate they're going to be coming down as long as the hurricanes keep striking in other areas of the state and we have contractors, with heavy business. So they're not sitting around waiting for work. So the conclusion, so we're trying to make the Keys more resilient by having developed a long-term roads adaptation plan. And we're also doing the municipalities. And we're looking for grant opportunities and just keep going. And I'll just go real quick how we were able to fund some of these projects. So you heard me talk about $300 million worth of projects. We don't have that kind of money sitting around. We were lucky enough we launched that plan for the road elevation program right when some hurricane mitigation funds were passing on down. So we were able to apply and we have all these projects now with federal funds that are able to match the state funds that we got at the state level. So we're looking at all these different federal funds, and here at the state level, we got the 60 million. I'm not going to go into it too much detail here, but we still have to throw in county funds, but without those federal funds match, we wouldn't have been able to do these projects. We would have had to stop at 2 or 3 projects. Instead, we have 7 going because of that federal match that we were able to do. So that concludes my presentation.
Wow.
And yes, she always talks this fast.
Good.
Very good.
Competition to Jennifer
and
Alvarado.
I appreciate that. Ms. Haig, I also chair the Water Board in Broward County. Our staff is Dr. Gerardo. I know you two must work
Good
closely
friends.
together. I've got a couple questions. Did you say, and I was just asking, we weren't sure that the 105 homes were going to cost for the roadway alone, 43 million?
For Twin Lakes,
I don't know. There was a number, you said 101 roadway that I asked whether you said 43 or 23, was the road itself was going to cost 43 million
Yeah.
or 23 million.
so for Twin Lakes, the one.
Is that the 105 homes?
Yes,
Okay.
23 million.
Okay. That's roughly $200,000 a home. That is only for the road itself.
Yep.
When you add in the pump stations,
Well, that does include the pump station.
oh, it does? Okay.
Yes, it includes a full road project, the
Okay.
pump station, injection wells, and road.
Oh, okay, good.
Not sure it includes the driveway adaptations, if that's what was your next question.
Okay, now my next question was, I'm wondering, please don't be angry at me, Monroe County. At a certain point in time, if it's going to be 200,000 per home just for the road improvement, and that doesn't include how much it's going to be costing to improve the homes, because otherwise they're going to be flooded. Is it fiscally feasible to do this? I mean, you're probably, I'm going to guess all in, you're going to be looking at 400,000 or 500,000 a home, including the cost to raise the homes themselves, or the dirt at least.
So
Is this feasible?
it's not feasible, given the current structure of the county. We don't have extra funds laying around for this match. Like I said, we landed our road elevation program right at the time when Resilient Florida opened their grant program, and then we had $175 million of funds coming down from Hurricane Michael. So we were able to get 7 road projects underway, but we are literally at a dead stop now. We don't have any further funds to apply for future grants because we don't have any county funds to match. So unless, and I'll let commissioners, they can take it over, unless and until we find additional source of funds, which we are trying to work on, our resilience program at the county is at a standstill.
I hope that we're not going to be seeing Monroe at some point be the Atlantis of North America, but yeah, I had another question.
Mhm.
When I authored the ordinance in Broward that mandated seawalls everywhere, and also there was a lot of concern from residents that, well, if they had built according to existing code, we couldn't require them to, but we went back to the English common law and trespass of water, which is you can't, using your property, you can't do things that will flood your neighbor's property.
Correct.
Are you going to have, if the roads serve as dikes, are you going to have an issue where you're going to be getting lawsuits from your residents claiming that your roadways will be flooding their properties?
Those are some very interesting policy discussions we have yet to have at the county. That probably is a probability. We will be, when we elevate these roads, they do become like mini dikes. We do capture when any water that falls on the road, we do capture and transfer it away. So that will not be flooding
But
residents.
if there's
I understand. Yeah.
tidal, then that'll stop at the road and people, I can't not think like a lawyer. I've been practicing law for 42 years. And so I'm concerned, and I just want to make sure if you've thought of this, that if you're stopping the water flow, that people are going to say your road is flooding their homes by preventing the natural water flow away.
So right now, like in the Twin Lakes neighborhood and in Stillwater Point, right, because there is not a stormwater system. So what's happening is as the tide waters come up, they do flow down on our road, and that's not supposed to happen. So when we elevate the road, we're not going to be draining the neighborhood anymore because we're going to be doing our job and having road elevations. Now, is there going to be neighborhood flooding? Perhaps, probably. Are we going to allow seawalls to be built around? That's not going to do any good. There's prohibitions against building seawalls on the open shoreline. So we have a very interesting discussion coming up here.
Yes, you will. In reference to resilience, again, the roads are going to be expensive. What about the general homes? Are you going to have roads through areas that basically will all be completely flooded so that you'll be able to get to higher ground still? But do you expect your homes in a lot of these areas are going to be underwater unless they knock down their current homes and rebuild on stilts or things of that nature?
So
they'd have to raise the ground unless they're planning getting there by rowboat.
Exactly. So that's another whole discussion. What are we going to do with 25,000 yards? Are we going to really elevate them all? There is the Army Corps plan, that $2.5 billion Army Corps plan, and in there is a plan for 4,680 home elevations. We have to of course, get appropriations, but that would be part of the answer, hopefully, because that's 75% federal funding.
That might be
65%.
20% of your home stock.
Pardon?
You said there were around 25,000 homes.
I think there's about 25,000 lots.
Okay. And so the 4,800 would be roughly a quarter,
Yeah,
or
but
20% actually.
that's just all the lots. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, some of the areas, we're also looking at adaptation action areas, and we're looking at managed retreat. That's probably the next steps. There are areas that when we did the road elevation project, we're not elevating all the roads that are vulnerable. We had to look at, include people that live on there. And if there's like low numbers of people, or there wasn't, if there's some roads that are 2-3 miles long, that are going to be heavy inundation or just a few people on them, those aren't in our plan. So those are, we're going to lose areas in the Keys. It's nothing to be said about that. It's going to happen. So it's our job here as a county. We got lucky here and we got out the gate here with 7 good road elevation projects. It's probably going to be much more difficult from here on out, and listen until we can identify that alternative funding source. But it's, even if we had all the money in the world, there's still some decisions to be made about what are we going to do with, you know, yards? Are we going to elevate them? We're going to allow them to be elevated? You know, seawalls, are we going to, you know, we're in a national marine sanctuary. I don't see that ordinance changing where we're going to allow seawalls on the open water. So there's still a lot of decisions to be made. And just because there's 4,680 home elevations in the Army Corps plan doesn't mean that that's going to be an easy thing either. That's the largest, by the way, that's the largest non-structural project in all of Army Corps land. They haven't done it either before. They've done some home elevations in Louisiana, but nothing to the extent of 4,680. So that's going to be really interesting. There are a lot of them are, you know, concrete on slab, and it's going to be really interesting to see if that's going to work.
Okay. My last question is, anyone who has attended meetings of the SFRPC has heard me talk about houseboats and arcs as a good investment in Broward County, at least, or Southeast Florida, because it's not just tidal, it's rain. I don't know what the climate is here in Broward. I know, excuse me, here in Monroe. I know in Broward, our climate is either tropical rainforest or tropical monsoon, depending on where you live. And either of those means it rains a lot. And I assume that it's the same down here in Monroe. And a lot of our flooding in my county, Broward, is not tidal. It's rain that we can know. We used to be able to drain it through canals, but because the sea level rise, we can't do that any longer. What are y'all doing, if anything? Do you also have large problems with flooding caused by rain? And if so, do you have any plans for that? Or is Monroe County flooding primarily tidal and not rain?
It's both. So in a neighborhood like Twin Lakes, what happens was, because that's such a, especially the lower line areas, they're already lower line. So that means the water levels are almost at the level of the road. So when it does rain there, there's nowhere for the rain to go.
Right.
So that's why you need these road elevation projects. You gotta gather it and pump it to get it out. You can't just dig a trench to the ocean, because it's not going to work, because the water, as you already, you know, I don't think we get the levels of water that the rain that you get up in Broward. I think, you know, especially those big dumps, we're a little bit lower, and the further down in the Keys you go, it's less. So it's a combination of both, but it's the tidal that's causing the most problems. And of course, like I said, when we do the road elevation programs, we address both you know, all the water that falls on the road, but it's going to get worse every year.
Thank you, ma'am. Were there any additional questions from any of the, first I'll take from present in person, then we'll take online. Any additional questions for Ms. Haig, or any comments on my questions? Anyone? If not,
I have a comment.
Councilmember Cates, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you.
Can you turn your mic on, please?
I'm not very good at this here.
Can somebody?
You on now?
Yes.
Yes, it's primarily from sea level rise tidal. Key West has only been involved with Key West more. They have 125 wells around town, and many of them injection wells with pumps. So when it does have the rain and the flooding from that, they can inject it into the wells and distribute it. But when it's tidal, none of the drains work. And Flagler, our project on Flagler, it's a county road, is more and more difficult than other areas because they use the duckbill valves on the end of the storm drains for the ocean sea level rise, but a lot of them are not even pipes all the way to the water, and they're French drains sort of, because they were put in many, many years ago. So the tide just comes up in the road. So it's mainly tidal flooding and hurricane flooding. Of course, it's tidal also with the tide surge. So that being said, it's much more difficult than just drainage.
I've always wondered, does anybody know why they're called French drains? You do?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I've just wondered. Okay. Are
work very well.
Please strike that from the record. Is there anybody present online that has any questions or comments? And that would include if there's anybody here from FDEP or South Florida Water Management District, if you want to comment only. I'm not asking anybody, I'm only inviting anybody. Is there anybody present online who wishes to comment? Seeing no, I don't see anybody present online that wishes to comment. All right. In that case, thank you, Ms. Haig. I appreciate your being here, and you should be aware that the SFRPC has done a tremendous amount on resilience and flooding, and if there's anything we can do to assist you, please contact our executive director.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you, Ron.
And thank you. It is now 5 after 11.
Chair,
Do we have?
I see that Hannah Cook is on Zoom now.
Oh, great. Good. I was looking. Ms. Cook, are you present online?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can. At this point in time, let me introduce our second of two speakers, Hannah Cook, Dr. Hannah Cook, who is thank you for being here today, Ms. Haig. Now let me introduce Dr. Hannah Cook. Is that how your name is pronounced, Cook?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Director of the Artificial Reefs Program in Monroe County. Dr. Cook is the director of Monroe County's Artificial Reef Program and marine scientist with more than 6 years of conservation-related experience in the Florida Keys, formerly with the Elizabeth Moore International Center for Coral Reef Research and Restoration at Mote Marine Laboratory in Summerlin Key. She began her position as the Monroe County Artificial Reefs Director on April 1, 2024. In this position, she has a task of overseeing roughly 15 million Keys-wide program to create a series of artificial reef. Dr. Cook holds a doctorate in natural sciences, a master's in biology, and a bachelor in marine science. And there is additional information on her. If anybody would like to read that information in our program, Dr. Cook, I assume you're aware with the extensive work that the SFRPC has done in helping to lead the study state and nationally even on reef protection, led by, among other people, the Monroe County delegation, but also by Councilmember Furr from Broward County and from the Treasure Coast. Who was it?
Well, it was Doug.
Yes, and Doug Smith, Commissioner Doug Smith from Martin County. And they were instrumental, Martin County Regional Planning Council, they were instrumental in getting the state to take a more active role in reef preservation. So Ms. Cook, thank you for being here today virtually, and you're recognized, ma'am, for your presentation.
Thank you for that introduction and good morning. Just want to make sure everyone can see my. All right, and everyone see it in presentation mode?
Yes, ma'am, we can see it.
Awesome. All right, so today I actually wanted to talk a little bit about the science behind why we should consider artificial reefs, also referred to as habitat support structures, as a possible intervention for mitigating for the loss of quality habitat in the Florida Keys, specifically within the context of structural complexity and how that impacts fish and fishing and fisheries. And, you know, as we all know, how important fish and fish populations are to our economy, our environment, our way of life, and our culture in the Keys. So you introduced already a little bit about the program, but it's a $15 million grant through FWC that states that FWC and Monroe County intend to partner together to develop a program to plan, construct, monitor, and maintain habitat support structures in Monroe County, and that such benefits are for the ultimate good of the state of Florida, its resources, wildlife, and public welfare. And today I'll talk a little bit about our approach to doing this in Monroe County. So as we all know, the Florida Keys marine ecosystem is home to a variety of habitat and community types. And I really want to hone on this term habitat, which is defined as the resources and conditions present in an area that produce occupancy, which may include survival and reproduction by a given organism. Essentially, it just explains why something is where it is. And the maintenance of quality and diverse habitats supports the maintenance of biodiversity, which is the basis for healthy, productive, and resilient ecosystems. So we know how important having a diversity of quality habitats is important for maintaining biodiversity and a resilient ecosystem. And a key component of this habitat concept is structural complexity. So structural complexity supports greater species richness and abundance because structurally complex environments have more microhabitats and niches available. So in this way, structure drives habitat use by a variety of organisms. And by the same logic, the most obvious consequence of a loss or degradation in habitat is a reduction in the abundance and diversity of organisms. And unfortunately, because of things like ocean warming and coastal development and poor water quality and direct human impacts and intensifying storms, we're seeing widespread reductions in the quality of habitat across our Florida Keys marine ecosystem, and especially within this vein of structural complexity. So I want to quickly walk you through 2 examples of where this is happening in the Keys based on, pretty broad scale, different habitat types. One that you're probably more familiar with, coral reefs, and one you may be a little bit less familiar with, which is the nearshore hard bottom. So the nearshore hard bottom communities represented here in orange are actually the most extensive type of hard bottom community in South Florida. They comprise the shallow coastal waters on both the Gulf and Atlantic side and they occur on a consolidated limestone substrate. And they make up about 30% of the nearshore habitat in the Florida Keys marine ecosystem. And in the shallow nearshore hard bottom community on the bay side, so the Gulf, for example, the structural complexity there is attributed to low relief organisms, sponges, soft corals, macroalgae, and solution holes, which are cavities in the limestone. So here in this picture on the right, you can see a large vase sponge, and in the back, you can see a barrel sponge, and a little bit in front of that, you see a branching sponge, and in the foreground, you see macroalgae. So you can see the type of organisms that are contributing to the structural complexity in this environment. And this shallow, low relief habitat is essential for fish and invertebrate shelter, refuge, foraging. In the bottom panels, you can see baby lobsters hiding in, under, and between sponges. So this is also very valuable nursery grounds. And in fact, newly settled and juvenile fish account for over 80% of the fishes found in nearshore hard bottom communities in Southeast Florida. So a lot of the fish you're probably seeing on the reef or fishing in other locations originate from these communities. And yes, of course, many of these species are critical for commercial and recreational fisheries, particularly lobster. But long-term monitoring of these habitats in the Keys has shown substantial changes in habitat landscape, community composition, and ecology. And we've seen widespread losses in sponges and soft corals. And so you can see what it looks like when you lose those low relief organisms. So from the left to the right, this is one of those communities. You get sort of a homogeneous landscape. And in some areas, there's been a complete loss of sponges and these soft corals. So a result of this is there's less habitat, there are fewer food resources, and we've seen declines in fish diversity. And in fact, present day fish species richness is just 30 to 40% of what it was when they were surveying some of these spots in the 90s. Coral reefs. We all know how beautiful and structurally complex coral reefs are and how they have different crevices and nooks and crannies and ledges and caves, and even the space between the branches of the coral provide habitat for fish. However, we do know that the coral reef ecosystems and that the fish populations they support are on the decline. So large-scale reductions in coral cover and structural complexity have led to this phenomenon that we're seeing as reef flattening. So in a normal, typical reef environment, you want it to be accreting, you want it to be building and expanding, but we're actually seeing it eroding and flattening. And the impact is that we're seeing negative feedbacks on fish assemblages. So all these community metrics of biomass and diversity and richness and abundance of fish communities are positively associated with structural complexity. So with this flattening, we're seeing negative feedbacks on the fish. So for this reason, we need to consider new synergistic management strategies for mitigating for the loss of quality habitat that comes from the loss of structural complexity. And also because, and this is, I think, a really important point, coral cover does not equal structural complexity on low coral cover reefs, which is what we have in Florida. So even before last year's 2023 marine heat wave, coral cover was expected to be as low as 2%. So that's very low. In this study here represented in this slide, researchers modeled the relative impact of relief, so structural complexity, compared to coral cover on the densities and diversity of 100 fish species on Florida's coral reef. And what they found was that maximum hard relief had a greater impact on the density and diversity of fishes compared to coral cover. So here, the blue bars basically just shows those bars are larger. It's showing the impact is greater. And so importantly, oftentimes structural complexity and coral cover are often conflated, but they actually represent very different aspects of reef rugosity and structural complexity. And even though structural complexity and coral cover is positively associated on high coral cover reefs, like what you have on the Great Barrier Reef or in the Pacific, it's actually decoupled on low coral reefs, which is what we have here in Florida. So we need to take this into consideration. Additionally, another recent study, scientists modeled or they asked the question for fish species on Florida's coral reef, how may different management scenarios impact fish biomass? And so they compared management scenarios of coral restoration, moderate and extensive, fish closures, so like a marine protected area, as well as the addition of artificial structure. And the most effective single management measure for increasing predicted fish biomass was a substantial increase in reef complexity through the addition of artificial structures. So here, this red box shows that for all species, there was a 72% predicted increase in fish biomass just by adding artificial structure. That's compared to 5% increase for moderate restoration, reef restoration, 52% for extensive reef restoration, and only 6% for fish enclosure. And that pattern holds true whether you look at the individual groups of the snapper grouper, the grazing species, the aquarium species, or all species. But beneficial synergies have greater potential for greater impacts. And so they actually combine some of these management scenarios. And artificial structures plus fishing enclosure had the highest predicted increase in fish biomass at 89%. Again, holding true whether you're looking at all species or subgroups. And that's compared to just 67% for reef restoration and fish closure. However, what they didn't model, and I think is arguably more interesting, is the combination of artificial structure plus reef restoration. So this concept of hybrid reefs. And I believe there was actually a presentation on hybrid reefs the last time you met. I think it was in April. So this brings me to the exciting portion of the talk, which is, why Monroe County, Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary, and FWPC have come together to partner together to create this pilot program for addressing this specific issue. And so our goal is to design, deploy, and evaluate habitat support structures for creating long-term quality, stable habitat and improving conditions and resources within the Florida Keys marine environment. So we're really trying to take an ecosystem-based approach, and we want to have positive feedbacks on our ecosystem through these structures. A long-term goal is to create networks of sites from near to offshore on the Gulf and the Atlantic sides to support ontogenetic movements of fish. Basically, what that means is fish, as they mature and go from early life stages to adult mature life stages, they use different habitats, kind of going from near shore to offshore. And so what we want to do is actually make sure there's enough long-term quality, stable habitat that has structural complexity in these habitats that the fish use as they mature and migrate across the different habitats going from near to offshore. This is ambitious, and this is going to take time and a lot of money. So 15 million is not going to go very far. So we're going to have to continue to work on showing progress and justifying why we need additional funding and support to carry out these goals. So the basis of our approach is to first characterize the habitats and their deficits as it pertains to structural deficits for the reasons I explained, as related to fish and invertebrate life history. So that could be a lack of specific habitat from loss. So for example, in the nearshore hard-bottom community, there's a complete loss of habitat and structural complexity in some areas. Or it could be from a reduction in the quality of habitat. So from degradation. So kind of think of the coral reefs where there's still structure there, but it's degrading. Next, we will test the habitat support structures that functionally mimic and or enhance the structural components that historically provided complexity. So this is where we want to design structures where we can test a variety of treatments and questions. So we want to test different material types, styles of structures, sizes of structures, scales of structures, and include a restoration component where appropriate. So for example, in the nearshore hard-bottom community, we want to put out structures that have sponges outplanted on them. And in the coral dominated habitats, we want to include coral outplanting, coral restoration, and look to see is what has a bigger impact, just putting out these structures or structures with a biological component? Because obviously, you know, the biological organisms that provide structure, it's not just a structure. There could be other attributes to those organisms that are obviously, you know, conveying benefits to the community there. And then we want to evaluate the net ecological and ecosystem outcomes, whether they're negative, neutral, positive, based on a comprehensive monitoring plan. So a big criticism of artificial reefs in the past is like they aren't monitored over the long term to understand the outcomes. And so we really want to be able to answer what are the long-term ecological ecosystem outcomes, and how can we build on that? And obviously we want to execute this through a team of local experts and scientists. So some of the things we've already achieved, delineating these different habitat, we call them habitat deficit areas, as exemplified here in this map of the lower Florida Keys. This sort of solid light green is what we're calling the Southern Gulf of Mexico. This here area all around land that's gray and speckled, that's the nearshore hard bottom community. Going offshore here on the Atlantic side, this gray with the blue dots, that's nearshore patch reefs. The diagonal green, that's offshore coral reefs, and then beyond that are the deep reefs. We've also started conversations and discussions and brainstorming with various vendors and companies, and thought about, you know, utilizing innovative 3D concrete printing technologies to achieve the sort of style that we're looking for in these different habitat areas. We have also started thinking about how we're going to, you know, find the funds and the people to do the long-term monitoring, and a team of social scientists and biologists led by Danny Morley at FWC has submitted a NOAA Restore grant that would allow for long-term monitoring of artificial reefs in Monroe County for 5 to 10 years. And actually also allow us to not answer just ecological questions, but also include a social perspective and understand and track people's perceptions of the work we're doing over time. And of course, all of this is going to be, you know, bound within the program principles of being science-based, ecosystem-focused, including social perspectives. How does the community feel and think about this as this program grows and evolves? And obviously having stakeholder input at every step of the process is really important. Being sustainable, you know, applying adaptive management strategies from this pilot program. What can we learn? What can we decide that's maybe beneficial or as a positive outcome, implement and upscale, or what do we want to modify, or what's the next question we want to ask? So we always want to be thinking about, you know, future forward and how can we make this better as we go along. And of course, education and outreach are a big component of this this entire process. And so I've talked at length about the environmental benefits that artificial reefs can have, but of course there are economic benefits. And a study showed that fishing and diving activity on artificial reefs annually provides more than 39,000 jobs for Floridians, generates more than $3 billion of economic activity, accrues more than $1 billion in income to Floridians, and produces $250 million in state revenues. And because artificial reef, there hasn't been an active program down here, we do actually hope that with this program, the community will want to invest in this and maybe invest in equipment and the ability to do the work down here, because everything is more expensive in the Keys. And so we need to be able to get the community involved to hopefully bring down the cost a little bit. And then of course, no one size fits all. And I described the pilot program for the within the sanctuary projects that we want to do, but I'm working on developing other projects and other ideas that will have still a variety of economic and environmental benefits, but some different focuses. So I'm developing a project that I'm calling the Gulf Side Network in the Gulf of Mexico and state and federal waters, basically a network of sites that will be for fishing and diving, but also it's in an area where there is no structure. And so we want to put out ample habitat for marine life and provide waypoints for fish migrating from near to offshore or from the Gulf, the Atlantic. And by having multiple patch reefs within multiple sites of a network, you're distributing fishing pressure, you're reducing human user conflict, you're maximizing space for habitat for marine life, and potentially drawing away people from more stress and used areas or reefs for fishing. And then another idea that we're throwing around is the concept of dive training reefs. And so thinking about how we can, again, use artificial structures or artificial reefs to help alleviate some of the stress on our more natural reefs that we have. And with that, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Hold on.
very smart, you know. And then
Are there any questions or comments on this presentation?
Chair, if I might.
Yes, you are
I'm
recognized.
sure Commissioner Cates wants to say something too, because this is just such an exciting pilot project that we have the opportunity in Monroe County to do. And I know Senator Geller, you always speak about the doom and gloom of sea level rise and where are we going to be?
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
we all worry about our coral reef and our habitat. And this to me is just such a positive experience for our county. And we are so privileged to have Dr. Cook and her expertise and how she's going to tie in scientifically, is this going to make a difference? Will it increase the fishing habitat? And we know it will, and we're very excited about this.
The coral reefs do so much for South Florida, not just economically, but they are protecting our shorelines. They are an amazing natural resource. I think we have the second largest in the world after the Great Barrier Reef. Is that correct?
Third largest,
Third.
but we'll live,
Okay.
yeah.
But it's an amazing thing and we have to protect it. Councilmember Cates.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, you're absolutely right, Commissioner Lincoln. It's seeing the changes through my lifetime, being here, a lot of fishermen in my family, diving on the reef since I was a young child, and seeing the changes and the impact it's had on us, and now the opportunity with the artificial reefs. We've seen the impact that sinking the ships have made such a positive impact, and now to distribute this in the shallower waters, also in the deeper waters, and have the affect the small fish as they migrate out to the deeper water and have these different depths of locations to breed and to grow. So it's just exciting time for us, and it's great that we're able to be leading the charge here with the grants from the state, of course. In Hannah, she's going to do an amazing job, and when she explains this, it's just incredible the depth of the knowledge that she has in this field. So thank you for that, and we look forward to the future.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any additional questions or comments? Any additional questions or comments? If not, Dr. Cook, thank you for being here today, ma'am. We certainly appreciate your very interesting and pretty report. Thank you. At this point in time, we are on Roman numeral 4 action items E, the traditional RLF settlement. And let me ask Mr. Gore, before I get to that, I'd like to thank Gregory Gay from the city of Opelika, who texted into us, or who actually didn't text, commented online that French drains have nothing to do with the country of France. They are, Mr. Gray from the city of Opelika pointed out that they are named after Henry Flagg French, who is the one who created those. And so, Mr. Gay, thank you. I've been wondering that for years and never bothered to look it up. So at this point in time, Mr. Goring, can you explain the settlement proposal with Angela Dawson and Angela Dawson, PA? Is there any action required like ratification?
May I respond?
Yes.
Thank you, Senator Chair Geller. In the backup, you'll find a memorandum that was crafted by our executive director and by Jeff Tart, as well as our office, with regard to a settlement with regard to the Angela Dawson matter. The memo speaks for itself, and I would like not to have to go into great detail in the context of the particulars because they're set forth not just in the memorandum, but they're also in the settlement document. As you may remember, in recent days, the council allowed us to engage outside counsel, Chris Stearns of the Johnson & Selmo law firm that does legal work for the League of Cities and has done work for the council in the past. He assisted us with regard to the negotiations which concluded in November and concluded in a recommendation from the professional staff, including your lawyers, that this matter is now ripe for settlement. The contents of which are specifically set forth in the memo. The obligation will be continued with regard to Ms. Dawson. It's specifically set forth. There'll be a modification of the second mortgage. There'll be some recording of instruments. There'll be some releases, but at the end of the day, the commitment and the guarantee that's set forth in the documents you have before you resolve the matter after a litigation event which occurred as far back as 2018. The matter is scheduled for mediation in the beginning of April. Trial is scheduled for June. Based upon the calculations and the components of good faith settlement, and of course, all manner of this meeting are public, the consequence of which is that this too is a record and public record. We would recommend, given the calculations, the numbers, and the documents which we collaborated on along with Mr. Stearns in our office, that a motion would be in order to settle the matter. The loan administration, I'll read the motion to the record. The recommendation supports the proposed litigation settlement and the resulting write-off in the amount of $25,000 as a result of the reduction of outstanding principal due from $144,598 to $119,598. And furthermore, each party will be responsible for their respective legal fees, costs, and expenses. It is a walkaway relationship, the security for which is not changing. The base document would be continued, and another property which is cross-collateralized will be released. These are the components, if I just can conclude, Mr. Chair, Senate, that are consistent with the brief and meaningful discussions that have been conducted on the record in recent months.
There's one other item on that which I regard as important, that this comes with mutual releases, because it's my understanding that she had filed what I would regard personally as spurious counterclaims and affirmative claims. So is it your opinion that upon execution of the releases, if she tries to revive any claims against the SFRPC, that those would be 57105, which is the statute dealing with, I guess, what would you call spurious claims? Or what? How would you define 57105?
I suspect that's a word that can be used.
Okay.
It's a statute that governs the ability to collect legal fees if ordered by a court. I think that the settlement.
That there has to be no justiciable issues of law or fact.
Again, to the extent that this is a public record and to the extent that others may be listening to this discussion today, the settlement document does speak to the truth of the conclusion that's being reached. There are specific obligations on both sides of the table.
I'm just asking in terms of the release.
The release is a comprehensive release as described in subsection K. The Dawson will execute a general release of any and all claims against the SFRPC, as well as its current and former employees, board members, and attorneys, as it pertains to case number 18-010315. This document has been signed by Ms. Dawson as of January the 16th and speaks to the truth of that answer, Mr. Chair.
And I believe that under that was any claims that were raised or should or could have been raised under that litigation. Is that correct?
Litigation will end the conversation.
Thank you. Mr. Tart, did you have any additional comments?
I did not. I just wanted to thank Sam Gorin and his office personally for their persistence and knowledge in this legal matter. It's been ongoing since 2018. It's been really a lot of effort by loan administration and him to get it to this part. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tart. And I am, for one, am very pleased to finally put this behind us. Mr. Gorin's legal fees are astonishingly low on an hourly basis, but having had to deal with this issue for 6 years, I'm pleased that we're able to resolve this and stop paying legal fees. So I believe it would be appropriate. I would recommend approval. Is there a motion? Moved by Councilmember Cates. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Horland. Is there any debate? Is there any debate? If not, all those in favor of approving the settlement agreement, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And I didn't hear any of the online people, but can I ask for those voting members online to also vote? So if you are in favor of the settlement online, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Let's do it. That was Commissioner Kaplan. Are there any other members online? Commissioner Kaufman, are you there? Councilmember Kaufman. Councilmember Udine, are you there? Councilmember Goldberg, are you there? I think that's it. All right, well, in any event, we do have a quorum. So please show that this has been adopted and approved by the South Florida Regional Planning Council.
And Senator Chair Geller, just quickly for the
Yes.
record, given the legal vote to approve and ratify the conclusion of the matter, it will authorize Isabel as our executive director to sign the appropriate documents, which we will coordinate today, and we'll process ASAP once I get back to the office.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We are on item F, Florida Association of Counties, FAC, legislative priorities. I'd like to call upon Councilmember Lincoln, who is not only the incoming SFRPC chair in about 10 minutes, but also the incoming FAC chair. Councilmember Lincoln, would you care to comment on the FAC legislative priorities?
Well, thank you. If I speak slower, then you can be chair for longer than 10 more minutes. However, because I'm sure everyone would like this meeting to end on time, I will just say that the Florida Association of Counties has created our legislative action plan. It reflects the collective priorities and position of Florida's counties. It was developed through input from county elected officials, staff, and stakeholders across the state. It will serve as our comprehensive guide to the issues we will focus on during the 2025 legislative session. FAC has a deliberate, consensus-built policy development process. The goal is to solicit and develop policy statements on legislative issues affecting county government. Through participation and legislative policy, our committees, our county officials identify, discuss, and ultimately vote on the issues to be in FAC's legislative action plan. The FAC legislative action plan is divided into two parts. There are the guiding principles. These are the statewide importance that are relevant over several years of time and over several different individual policy issues. And then there's the policy proposals, and the policy proposals are single-purpose statements addressing a specific issue or piece of legislation. And I'm going to focus for a minute on the policy proposals and that process. Some of you in the room know it very well, but when we set up our different committees, any county commissioner can ask to be on a committee. The meetings are started out virtually and then are finished at statewide association meetings. Over the course of the meetings, policies are introduced, adopted, deferred, not adopted, or amended for the next conference. During the legislative conference, the final action is taken. There are 7 policy committees. They include Agriculture and Rural Affairs. Number 2 is the Community and Urban Affairs, which is co-chaired by our own Senator Geller. There is the Federal Policy, which is co-chaired by Senator Renee Garcia. There is the Finance, Tax, and Administration, Health, Safety, and Justice. The 6th is Future Technology, and the last one is the Water and Environmental Sustainability Committee, which is chaired by our commissioner here, Holly Rashine. And this committee adopted policies referring to conversion of private wells and septic tanks, trail improvements, safe and effective methods of reducing phosphorus, and One Water Initiative, which is supporting holistic water management policies that seek to enhance integration between different water systems while maintaining local flexibility. I thought I just would dive a little deeper into that simply because we're here in Monroe County and we just had our Resilient Sustainable Director, Rhonda Haig, and then Dr. Cook explain how we're trying to do what we can to protect our waters. So, as always, Florida Association of Counties will be working on protecting us from preemptions, as we believe one size does not fit all when it comes to our state And that is a brief update on where Florida Association of Counties will be as we head into legislative session. As always, I think we do more 95% defense and 5% on what our legislative action plan will be.
Thank you, Councilmember Lincoln. As I said earlier, I unfortunately, I've been around long enough to remember when the legislature treated local government like friends and allies, and that has not been the case recently, where reluctantly I'm agreeing with you that most of what we do is fighting preemptions from the legislature. So I'm very familiar with the program because I'm on the legislative committee of FAC. Are there questions from anyone else about the legislative, the FAC legislative priorities? Are there any questions or comments from any members? If not, thank you, Councilmember Lincoln.
Could I just say one thing?
You may.
Please.
No. Okay.
Thank you. I just want to thank the Association of Counties for including in their policy support of the state's regional planning councils as critical partners in the effort moving forward. I know I speak for all the directors at the Association of Counties and for FRCA, the regional councils of directors, we work very closely with FAC and try to support FAC as well and its priorities. This program is excellent, and we will be reviewing this in advance of our February 28th meeting, also to pull out some details. For example, the coral reef policies in here, that'll be the joint meeting. And I'll update that more very quickly later on, but this is going to be very helpful in helping frame out that meeting as well. Thank you, Chair.
And that joint meeting that we were discussing was the joint meeting of the SFRPC and the TCRPC. Between the two regional planning councils, we have somewhere around 30% of the population of the state of Florida. So assuming we can be unified, we can have an impact on legislation. All right, we are now on item G, the report of the nominating committee. The way that will work is I will read the report of the nominating committee. I will then make some remarks. I will then call for the election, and then newly elected Chair Lincoln will make her remarks. And anything after that, you'll have to ask her what we're doing because she'll be the chair. So the current, let's see, the nominating committee was not as prescribed by the bylaws because it includes the immediate past chair, who is no longer a member of the SFRPC. So I appointed myself in the role of the immediate past chair as I was about to become the immediate past chair. And I also, pursuant to the bylaws, appointed one member from each additional county. Councilmember Cates from Monroe County, and Second Vice Chair Garcia from Miami-Dade County. The nominating committee met. The current members of the executive committee are myself as chair from Broward, first vice chair Councilmember Lincoln from Monroe, second vice chair Councilmember Garcia from Miami-Dade, treasurer Councilmember Goldberg from Broward, who is a governor's appointee. Secretary is Councilmember Horland from Broward under the municipal, and the immediate past chair position is vacant. The nominating committee met on January 17th, and its recommendations were to move everybody up one. So Councilmember Lincoln would assume the chairmanship. Councilmember Garcia would assume the first vice chairmanship. Councilmember Goldberg would assume the second vice chairmanship. Councilmember Horland would move from secretary to treasurer. Councilmember Kaplan would be appointed to the vacant position of secretary. Councilmember Kaplan is a former chair of the SFRPC, so he'll be coming around for a second term. And I will assume the position of immediate vice chair. I believe I know that in recent times, at least, that I've been chair of the South Florida Regional Planning Council longer than anyone else. As I step down, I want to explain why I wanted the chair for these many terms. I was elected chair for the first time in mid-2020 when I was first vice chair, and then Chair Daniela Levine Cava resigned to devote full time to running for mayor of Miami-Dade County. I served half a year as chair and then reverted to the position of first vice chair so I could devote my full attention to being mayor of Broward County during the pandemic. In January of 2022, I was elected chair again, re-elected in 2023, January, and finally re-elected to my last term in January of 2024. The reason that I served 3.5 terms as chair is that I wanted to fundamentally alter what the SFRPC was. I hope and believe that I've succeeded. I worked closely with the SFRPC back when Carolyn Deacle was the executive director. She was appointed the ED in 1991, and I served on the committee that regulated growth management in Florida for 18 of the 20 years that I was in the Florida legislature, beginning in 1988, including serving as chair, vice chair, and ranking minority member of that committee. The only time I was not on that committee was the 2 years I was the minority leader, and I served on fewer committees. The SFRPC at that point had substantial statutory power regarding regional development issues. When I was elected to the Broward County Commission in 2016, I immediately asked to be appointed to the SFRPC as one of the few committees that I asked for. When I was appointed, I noticed a strong difference between what the SFRPC had been and what it was then. During the Great Recession, Governor Scott wanted to eliminate anything that could slow down growth in Florida and insisted on legislation that fundamentally took away the actual powers of the regional planning councils statewide, but continued to require our existence. Isabel and my predecessors as chair did the best that they could to keep the SFRPC relevant in its diminished role. The SFRPC did contract studies for various government agencies, ran a highly successful revolving loan program, but it seemed to me that we could really go out of business and nobody would really notice except for the statutory requirement that we exist. At our monthly meetings, we'd have a speaker or two to talk for 15 or 20 minutes about various topics of interest to local governments. But I started to feel that we weren't really accomplishing anything. I was and am too busy to waste my time on an organization that wasn't relevant, and I know that many of our members feel the same way. However, I stayed involved because I did see something that we could do that would really make the SFRPC relevant again. That topic was embedded in our name. We needed to do regional planning and be seen as the convening authority on multiple issues important to Southeast Florida. Before I became chair, and during my 3.5 terms as chair, I insisted on our being relevant. I asked that we meet more frequently with the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. We established a schedule of having 2 major programs per year, one by ourselves and one in conjunction with the TCRPC. Even our regular joint meetings with the TCRPC became mini conferences. The SFRPC is the Economic Development Agency for Southeast Florida for the Economic Development Administration of the U.S. Department of Commerce. As such, we are responsible for creating and updating the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or CEDS, for Southeast Florida every 5 years. In the past, this was largely staff-driven, a couple of experts. As chair of the CEDS, I invited a blue ribbon commission of the most distinguished leaders in Southeast Florida to be part of the CEDS. and most people accepted my invitation. The SEDS that we produced was a masterpiece of a document. I've looked at some of the others in Florida. Ours was head and shoulders above any other one in the state of Florida, at least. Besides the SEDS, we've hosted or co-hosted major conferences on solid waste, recycling, first and last mile connectivity, affordable housing, housing for people with mental health issues, windstorm insurance, water issues, coral reefs, the silver tsunami, and other topics. We've received widespread praise for the quality of these conferences and have been seen as doing relevant work, and have been seen as being relevant again for all of the work that we've done. I was talking with the Broward County Attorney today, explaining where I was going and that I was stepping down as chair of the SFRPC. And he advised me that he'd heard from many people how important the SFRPC has been seen recently. And I mentioned that other people have told me the same. And I think that, again, we are again seen as an important group out there. And that is the reason that I served 3.5 terms. I wanted to change the culture of the SFRPC and make sure that the staff and incoming officers saw what we could be doing and make us important as relevant and make us important and relevant again. As Isabel can tell you, I've devoted literally thousands of hours over those years to working as chair of the SFRPC and the SEDS, and think that I've made a difference. I hope and believe that this activism is now part of the culture of the SFRPC. And just in case it's not, I plan on continuing to be active for my remaining 4 years as a county commissioner. I feel very, very comfortable with turning over the chairmanship of the SFRPC to a strong leader like Michelle Lincoln. I know that she shares my vision of the importance of the SFRPC. Michelle is the incoming chair of the Florida Association of Counties and has shown her leadership in so many ways that, again, I'm very comfortable that she will be an outstanding chair. Sometimes, not often, but sometimes, I felt a little sorry for Isabel and the staff of the SFRPC. I have dramatically increased the workload of staff. You can stop cursing me now.
We never curse.
Without adding a large number of new employees. I knew that Isabel could handle this. Isabel and I have known each other for more years than I care to mention, well over 30. And Isabel has worked at the SFRPC for 28 years and has been an outstanding executive director of the SFRPC for 10 years. I could not have accomplished the goals I set forth without her superb skills. She is known throughout South Florida and has an excellent reputation. She has been an outstanding ambassador for the SFRPC. I would like to thank the rest of the staff, and I cannot mention every member by name, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention some. Randy DeShazo, the Chief of Staff, Deputy Director, Director of Economic Development and Research, Insurance, Resilience Planning, et cetera, Economic Development and Staff Management. Leo Brzezowski-Soldi, Finance and IT Director, has completely modernized the Council's financial systems, creating new financial reporting tools and modernized the Council's technology. Alicia Lopez, South Florida Director for Southeast Florida Clean Cities Coalition, rescued and expanded the Council's Clean Cities program, bringing in new contracts and projects. Jeff Tart, Senior Loan Officer, has improved performance of the Council's loan programs, created new programs to further the development of affordable housing, and implemented a successful Brownfield revolving loan program. Christina Miskis, Principal Planner, has furthered council programs with the SFRTA, Miami-Dade TPO, FDOT, FDEP, and the U.S. Department of Defense to further land use, transportation planning, and community and military installation resilience planning. Aralda Algoli, Community and Economic Development Program Manager, for support of her efforts in the areas of economic development, but in particular in the areas of advancing community collaboration, economic development related coordination, and event planning for regional convenings. Kathy Lurch, all areas of council operations, including council meetings, human resources. She keeps all the balls in the air despite being short-staffed, and the remaining members of the South Florida Regional Planning Council staff. And of course, I could not omit my longtime dear friend, Sam Gorin. Sam Gorin is, in my opinion, and I've been practicing law for 42 years, he's one of the few lawyers, 43 now, I guess. Sam is one of the few lawyers I know still practicing who has been practicing longer than I have. Sam is widely known and widely respected as probably the top local government lawyer, at least in Broward County, and just overall one of the top and most ethical and hardest working lawyers I know in any field in Broward County. And Sam, thank you for everything that you have done. And I'd like to thank the officers and members of the SFRPC for electing and re-electing me. I hope that I've left the SFRPC a stronger organization than it was when I was elected chair, and I promise to continue to devote my attention to the SFRPC. Thank you all.
Give you a standing ovation. Yes, I think so.
Thank you.
Zoom is standing up.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you. At this point in time, I would accept the well, as chair of the nominating committee, I would move that we accept the recommendation of the nominating committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Cates. To remind everyone, the recommendation of the nominating committee is Chair Michelle Lincoln from Monroe County, First Vice Chair Renee Garcia, Senator Garcia from Miami-Dade County, Second Vice Chair Carrie Goldberg, Governor's appointee from Broward, Treasurer Denise Torlin from Broward, Secretary Frank Kaplan from Miami-Dade. To be moved and seconded, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Show that adopted unanimously. Councilmember Lincoln, you are now chair.
Did you get a photo?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, my wife will yell at me if I don't.
There you go.
Do you guys want to be in it too?
Well, after,
After that.
did you get theirs already?
The two of them.
All right.
Wait, Kathy, did you get one of the two of us? Okay, now Sam and Isabel.
We can join
I
together.
mean, does everybody want to be in it?
No, Sam,
Well,
go
we'll
to the
do
other
one
side.
of, we
Sam,
could do
balance
one.
us.
This is our PIO officer.
Yeah, she's
Will
excellent.
be in the paper.
Very nice.
All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Now face Kathy.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3. Again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now if I can ask the other two members to join us.
Yes.
Wait, we're not done.
Oh, no,
Almost.
I'll step back so that they can get by.
Okay, but Craig, can you balance us?
Okay.
We'll make it down there. Yeah, please. One of you stand next to it. Okay.
Very. Okay.
All right, look at me
First.
first. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Great.
Now face Kathy.
Ready?
Ready.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now you get to, now you get to whack us back into order.
Well, what I'm going to do instead is take a moment for us to thank Senator Geller for his unwavering support, not only to your community and your county, but to the entire state of Florida. You are a true definition of a public servant. It is evident in your services as a senator, as a mayor, as a commissioner, and as your service as the chair of the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Steering Committee, which we are asking you to stay on as chair of.
Thank you.
Hope you can do that. I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for the leadership and guidance you have provided, not just to me, but to all of the members of the South Florida Regional Planning Council. I have big shoes to fill. Thank goodness I wear stilettos, and I think I can maneuver my way around with the help of the wonderful staff that we have here that are so dedicated to making our South Florida Regional Planning Council and communities stronger and safer and a great place to live. So with that, I will open it up if there is anyone else who would like to make a comment to Senator Geller before we give a little presentation. Isabel, did you want to lead us off with something, please?
But I'm not going to talk too long because I always get a little sentimental. But I just want to take this opportunity to thank my chair and dear friend, Senator Geller, for his great support and all these many years. And it's been a real pleasure to work with you. I knew that I could always count on you. We would not always necessarily agree, but I always knew you were the chair and that you were right. So there's a reason I'm the executive director. I know the right things to say. No, but just all kidding aside, I think that we have accomplished a lot these last few years because first of all, your on-hand support. There was never an opportunity or a time where I asked that I needed something or expressed where we needed help that you did not volunteer to help. And I know Jackie and Barbara listening, I don't know, but God bless Jackie and Barbara. They work for Senator Geller, his commission staff. And those two ladies have also always just been an extension of our staff and all that they've done for us. So, there's a lot of issues that are going to be coming on. So I'm looking forward to working with Chair Lincoln and yourself also. And, there may be some legislative issues coming up this session that we'll have to focus on. So on behalf of all staff and myself, just thank you very much. And I'm going to stop now.
Anyone else here in the room have a comment? Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair Lincoln. I'll keep it brief, but I think the chair really summed it up, and we talk about a great example of a public servant. And all of us take on these roles to make a difference in our community and leave things better than they were when we got there. And you've certainly done that.
Yes.
You amaze me with what you get done, what you have done, your memory and your recall. And you really set the bar high for all of us. And I'm proud to call you a friend, as well as someone who has been a mentor and really look up to what you've done. So we will, and you are, yes, and I'm a constituent. So we look forward to carrying your mantle forward. So thank you, Senator Geller.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Horland. Commissioner Cates.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, Senator, I really appreciate your experience, your knowledge. Not many people have the knowledge and experience you have being in state government, municipal government, county government, and being involved for so many years. Your influence has helped this organization very much, as it helped every organization you're involved in. So thank you for all those years of service, and I know they will continue.
Thank you, Commissioner Kate.
Thank you.
And Councilmember Lincoln, my staff doesn't know this, but my understanding is Monroe County commissioners don't have the same kind of staff that Broward County commissioners do. So I will continue to volunteer my staff for assistance with, making the phone calls and things like that.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone in Zoom world that has their virtual hand raised that would like to say something to Senator Geller? Seeing none, then we do have a little recognition for Senator Geller for his exemplary work. This is for, do you want me to read this?
Yes, I think.
Okay.
I think we'll need more picture.
I know, well, this is just a little something with gratitude and sincere appreciation for your dedicated public service on the council, including more than 3 years as the South Florida Regional Planning Council Chairman. Thank you for your tireless leadership and contributions to the council and South Florida region as our chairman and the chairman of the South Florida Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Steering Committee. We look forward to your continued service on the council.
Now I do a drum
Yeah,
roll.
I know.
Don't throw it at anyone, okay?
It's heavy.
You might hurt someone.
Very nice.
I want you to notice the blue, that's our logo blue.
Very pretty.
Came out perfect, right?
Wait.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Great.
Now back to Kathy.
Good job.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes, do you like it?
I love it.
Isn't it beautiful? I want you, did you see it?
I have a lot, but they're
But this is
all
your favorite
clear.
one, right?
This one is colored too, so
Yes, and it
It-
has the big gavel.
it will make it stand out.
That's it. I want to thank Barbara Kopek for her counsel as I ran a couple of ideas. Her and
Do you know how many years Barb has worked for me? Oh,
Well, should we continue with our meeting right
Was-
now? So our next item will be our program reports and activities. And I have down for the South Florida Regional Planning Council revolving loan funds status report, and that is by Mr. Jeff Tart. Are you available on Zoom?
I am available. Thank you. Thank you. And Senator Geller, congratulations again. We will miss you, and your accomplishments have been, phenomenal here. So thank you.
you
Just
can't miss
quick-
me if I don't go anywhere.
We'll find you. We'll find you. Just very quickly, just a few quick bullet points here. Just wanted to let everybody know the Economic Development Administration just updated their annual RLF risk review of our program and rated us a B+ for the upcoming year, and continue to convey that our program performs quite well. Also, just a few quick updates on our CARES Act RLF program. I just wanted to say thank you for Councilmember Goldberg for your referral. We do have about $570,000 in available funds, and we do welcome any referrals from any council members as possible. And just two quick things regarding brownfields. Back in 2024, the EPA announced that the SFRPC secured $3.5 million in supplemental funding, and that was to clean up the former incinerator and ash dump in Hollywood. That project has commenced, and I shared a recent Sun Sentinel article in your board packages if you would like to get an update on what's happening at that property. And finally, we also have another brownfields update regarding the city of Homestead's community redevelopment. And we also provided an update in your packages as well. That's pretty much it for this month, and I look forward to providing updates going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Tart. Are there any comments here in the room? Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom with their virtual hand raised that would like to make a comment? No? Okay, then we're going to move on to our next item, which are our discussion items. First up would be our Executive Director's report from the very capable Ms. Isabel Cosio-Carbella.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really do appreciate that. I'm going to keep it brief. I know that it's going to be a long day getting home for many folks. I just want to take an opportunity again to thank Chair Geller and also now Chair Lincoln, because Chair Lincoln's also been an incredible friend and ally to me over many years. So I'm delighted to have the opportunity to work with you, Madam Chair. Just very quickly, I want to remind everybody about the joint meeting on February 28th. We're very grateful to Greg Stewart at the Broward County MPO. He will be hosting the meeting. He's always very generous with his staff and facilities. What's a nice part about that meeting facility in particular is that it is located on the Tri-Rail line. So it'll be easy to get there by rail if attendees wish to. Right now, the topics that we have discussed for the meeting include US 27 and potential freight corridor through there. Also corals. We want to get an update on the corals and progress on the management plan. The South Florida Regional Transportation Authority, we're going to invite Executive Director Deck. He's doing some great work in expanding the system, the Treasure Coast. Would like to hear more about that as we would. And also they're doing some great work with council staff respectively, working on TOD around the stations. And I most likely will reach out to the Water Management District also for an update on their resilience efforts as it relates to the water supply planning, which you know has been a key topic. I also would like to again thank Jacqueline and Barbara at Senator Geller's office because we didn't intentionally mean to abuse them, but they have worked very, very hard to move the work of the council forward also. And with that, I am also delighted to let the council members know that we have welcomed a new member of council staff, Rebecca Landsman, who is working for us as a contract employee. She's working for digital marketing communications for the council. She has a great background from Florida International University and also the University of Florida. And she is a communication events strategist and marketing professional. We've been short on that skill set for a while. It took a while to meet Rebecca, but she's really fantastic. And you'll notice how much more beautiful now our documents are going to look into the future. So with that, again, thank you all. And I'd like to also thank council staff, in particular, Kathy, Alicia, and Leo, who are here with us today. And so after the meeting, you guys can go home. Okay, so, all right, so that's my update, Madam Chair.
Did you want to discuss in light of having the joint meeting on the 28th to cancel the meeting on the 24th?
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you for the reminder. Earlier, I asked Madam Chair Lincoln if we would be able to cancel the February 24th meeting since our joint meeting's on the 28th. Unless, of course, something comes up. In that case, we will work with you in the executive committee
Okay.
because every now and then something might come in that needs action.
As the people who drive the furthest in the Florida Keys, I think Commissioner Craig Cates and I would be in favor of that. Is this something that we need a motion for, or is this just something we can do
I
procedurally?
would suggest, if you will, a motion just to clarify for the record.
So moved.
So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any objections here in the room? Hearing none. Any in Zoom world? Hearing none, the motion is approved that we will be canceling the meeting on February 24th in light of the fact that we're having a meeting on the February 28th.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next up, we have our legal counsel report from Mr. Sam Gorin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioner. Appreciate the opportunity. Certainly, we wish you the very best of congratulations in your new position.
Thank you.
And welcome the opportunity of working with you in the next year. Senator Geller, thank you also for your time and attention over the past number of years, not just with the council, but also in our relationship that extends for many, many years. If I may just
Decades.
just a minimal digression. I remember many, many years ago being in a delegation hearing in the city of Coral Springs. And at the time, there were several special districts that were being reviewed by the delegation regarding the issue whether they should have landowner voting or popular voting. And I remember the room was full and you could hear a pin drop, and Senator Geller at the moment of time that was very, very appropriately said, he said, "And what's wrong with popular voting? It seems to work in this country." And to that extent, aside from being not just my friend and colleague, you've also been to a great degree, and I have a confession on the record, my co-counsel for the years that you've been the chair of this organization. Senator Geller has been available to me and I to him and well before 9 and well after 5. And that's not just for me, but also for Isabel. You've been exceptionally accessible and made a great part of the relationship that we all have in this organization. It's a matter of commitment and engagement that is beyond discussion, except for the positives that it brings to the table. So for that, I thank you very much.
Thank you.
I thank you also for the support on Dawson. The components of that, I was not the primary lawyer settling the case, and as you know, Chris Stearns was, but your involvement and engagement with Isabel and I at bizarre hours of the day and night, I think were very useful, for which again, I'm grateful. And for that purpose, I would rest and thank you for the opportunity and wish our new chair the very best of good luck and success. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Next up, we have our council members report. Are there any council members present that wishes to state anything? Yes, sir.
Only because Isabel brought this up when she was saying that we will be having somebody from the SFR, is it the SFRTA that will, okay, they'll be speaking. It's been in the local Broward newspapers a lot about the connectivity. I have said in the newspapers, I continue to say, I don't think we're ever getting the regional Dade, Broward, Palm Beach rail that everybody keeps discussing because A, we've been completely unable to reach an agreement with Brightline. B, Brightline, the track is owned by Tri-Rail. Tri-Rail says that we have to pay them. Brightline says we have to pay them because Brightline is the lessor. And so both of them are arguing amongst each other and with us over not only how much we would have to pay, but to whom. But particularly, the city of Fort Lauderdale has adopted a tunnel or bust philosophy. And my position, they believe that you can build a tunnel for $880 million. Our experts, FDOT, have said it will be in the billions. And the traditional funding formula is 25% local, 25% state, 50% federal. But if there's any cost overruns, all of that goes to the local government partner. So I've advised the city of Fort Lauderdale, even though we can build a bridge for $500 million, I don't want to fight with you guys. I'd be prepared to have the county pay 25% up to $1 billion. You're saying it's 880 million. But I won't pay a penny of the cost overrun, so the city would have to pledge its full faith and credit. Since you're so sure, you keep telling us you can build it for 880 million. Great, I'll give you up to $1 billion, but beyond that, it's on your dime. I cannot write a blank check on the county treasury. And in a million years, they will never accept that offer because they know it's going to be $1.5 billion or $2 billion or $2.5 billion. So I just think we've reached an impasse there. And I think that the Tri-County Rail will be a county and a half. It'll go from Miami-Dade County and stop south of the New River at Broward General Hospital. So I've said that to the newspapers. I've said that to the Fort Lauderdale commissioners, and I'll repeat that today if anybody's interested, only because Isabel brought up the topic. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that input. Anyone else? Is there anyone in Zoom that has their virtual hand up that's a council member that wishes to give an update?
See no hands up, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. We will then move on to our ex officio reports. Does the members from FDOT, Mr. Nguyen or Mr. Walla, have anything they would like to address with us?
Again, I want to thank Senator Geller for making the council relevant. We've worked through these years, so the relevancy and keeping this council relevant is much appreciated. Thank you, Senator. I did post the 2055 Florida Transportation Plan, the Resiliency or Resilient Infrastructure Focus Group. As meeting number 3 on January 30th, and you can join virtually, but that meeting will be held up in Tallahassee. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, and I will be at that meeting as I'm also on that steering committee for the FDOT Strategy 2055. Next, if there's anyone from the South Florida Water Management District, is Mr. Valaboy still? Yes.
Yeah, hi. We have nothing to add today. However, thank you, Senator Geller, for your leadership on the South Florida Regional Planning Council, and also congratulations to the chair.
Thank you for that. Lastly, the Department of Environmental Protection, Ms. Davila.
Hi, this is Megan Rudder speaking. We do not have any comments at this time.
Okay, then I'll bring it back to, thank you. Lastly, we have announcements and attachments. You all can look at your attendance forms. It's in the back of the packet, and then a reminder for upcoming meetings. We will be canceling the meeting on February the 24th. I look forward to seeing everybody at the joint SFRPC TCRPC. I got to start practicing that. Senator Geller had it down pat. I will be practicing it all the way home today. But that meeting will be at the Broward MPO on February the 28th at 10 a.m. in the morning, and I look forward to seeing everyone there. And then at our next meeting, March 17th. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Do I need a motion for that?
You can do it yourself.
I can just do it myself. Good.